So you're thinking about moving to Raleigh, North Carolina, specifically Wake Forest. In this video, I'm going to share with you a few different neighborhoods around Wake Forest to give you a better idea of what to expect at different price points and the amenities that go along with those price points. In addition, I'm going to take you to downtown Wake Forest. It is a place where Southern hospitality meets modern charm. It is a place where you can find luxury, but you can also find that small town vibe that you might be looking for. If you stick around until the end, I'm going to share with you two really interesting facts about Wake Forest that may just help you make a decision on where you want to live in Wake Forest. So stick around until the end. Let's go check it out. If this is your first time to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell below. That way you can be one of the first people to receive the most accurate, up-to-date, interesting information about the real estate market in Raleigh, North Carolina, in Wake Forest, and the surrounding areas. My name is Pete, and I get calls from people just like you every single day. And whether you're moving in 9 days or 9 months, you should take my contact information out of the description below and give me a call, text, or set up a Zoom, and I'd be happy to help you make a smooth transition to the Raleigh and Wake Forest area. Guys, check this out. There's coffee houses, there are bars, there are hot dog shops, there are hardware stores, there are all kinds of shops downtown Wake Forest. This place is fairly lively throughout the day. There's a lot of traffic, people coming and going, and it really doesn't have a ton of turnover of stores just because it's a really sought after spot to be in Wake Forest. It's a really vibrant part of the community. We're midday, just after lunch, so people are headed back to work. But this area on the weekends and evenings, people come out. It's easy to get to from the local communities. And just off of this street, there are some other bars like Strike and Barrel. It has games, it's got bowling, it's got a brewery in it. So there is a lot going on down here. Something else that's really unique about downtown Wake Forest is every second Friday night between April and September, they have what's called Friday Night on White. So this is White Street, and they shut down the street. And there is a concert out here, a free concert. The breweries come out. There are some shops. You can bring your lawn chair, sit in the street. It's not appropriate for, I think, dogs to come, so leave your pet at home. But it is a great place. It fills up out here. It's like a street party, and it only lasts until 9:30. So it goes from like 6 to 9:30. So it's really more of a family event. It's not a place to stay late into the evening, go into the bars for that kind of thing later in the night. But yeah, it makes it a really cool community vibe going on here in downtown Wake Forest. You can see the historic buildings. These have been around for quite a while. It is a traditional Southern main street that is still alive and vibrant. All kinds of things happening, including co-working. You don't want to miss checking out downtown Wake Forest. Even if you're not going to live near it, you are going to want to come down here just to come hang out, come meet a friend, have a cup of coffee. So check it out when you come to Raleigh. Before we head to some other neighborhoods, I just wanted to walk through a little bit of the neighborhoods around downtown Wake Forest. You can see it's really known for tree-lined streets and a really tight-knit community, which is great. And whether you are looking for that cozy bungalow or something that's a little bit more up-to-date and modern, Wake Forest really has a lot to offer. The schools downtown here are excellent. The parks are great. There are a lot of opportunities for you to participate with your family in different areas of Wake Forest. There are tons of sports at the factory. There's hockey rinks, there are baseball diamonds, there are indoor soccer, basketball, all kinds of things. So Wake Forest really has a lot to offer, and let's go check it out. Guys, I'm in Holding Village. It is a master plan community in Wake Forest, North Carolina. There are quite a number of homes in this neighborhood, a lot of different variety and the styles. It is just a really unique neighborhood. It actually has 35 acres of open space among a whole number of parks. It has a fishing pond, trails, and playgrounds. And here's one of the open spaces in front of the houses. Great place for kids to be able to play and families to gather, or play with your dog, whatever that might be. So while the homes are a little bit tighter and the lots are a little smaller, you still they live a little bit bigger because they've got some extra space. So this house that we're gonna check out right behind me is on the market at $595. It's about 2,900 square feet, and it is 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and has a fenced-in backyard, a 2-car garage. The taxes on this are about $5,000 a year. The HOA fees in here are about $800 a year, so you get access to a swimming pool, and that helps maintain some of the parks and that kind of stuff. So we're gonna check out another house right across the street, and this one is a little bit smaller. It's at $538, and it is 2,300 square feet. I think it's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. You can check out this one sitting across the street. Yeah, this one also, if you look, has a clean front. There is no garage out front. So it has a detached garage in the back, fenced in yard, very similar, just a little smaller than the other house across the street. But check this out. Pretty cool green space right in front of these houses. Great space. I think it's a really cool spot for people to be able to gather, kids or families to take bike rides, and you have sidewalks and street lights. I've said this in some other videos, but kind of an Americana feel, that old school neighborhood vibe going on. We are at a neighborhood called the Baileys at Glenmore. We stepped up the price a little bit. The price ranges in this neighborhood are generally around the $900,000 plus or minus range, sometimes over $1 million in this neighborhood, sometimes a little bit less. Houses tend to be about 4,000 square feet, give or take. So maybe 3,700 up to about 4,400 square feet. Most of the lots here are going to be at least a half an acre, with a lot of them around 1 acre. We are about 10 minutes from Home Depot, Lowe's, Wegmans, maybe about 15 minutes to the middle of downtown Wake Forest. It's a really nice, well-maintained community. It does have an HOA. One of the things that you will notice in neighborhoods like this that are a little newer are that there are no mailboxes. So there is always a central mailbox for most of these neighborhoods. That's because the U.S. Postal Service doesn't give out individual, mailbox spots anymore. They don't deliver to individual houses unless they're already existing. So in a lot of the newer neighborhoods, the last 5-10 years, you're going to see very similar thing where nobody has a mailbox in front of their house, which makes for a clean look. Now, what we're going to take a look at here coming right up is about 3,800 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, half acre, really modern finishes. It has a basement with a separate entrance, which is really cool. Could have an au pair or something like that who lives there, or just a teenager, or maybe a college student or somebody else that needs to come in and out a little more quietly. So this is the house. It's listed at $919. It's a beautiful house. I think it has been sitting on the market for a little bit, and I think really the reason why is because the backyard's a little bit small. It has a really nice fire pit back there. It just doesn't have a lot of extra space in the back. You can see a lot of the neighborhood is very wooded. You're tucked in the trees in this neighborhood, and even when you don't have a lot of space in the backyard, you still have all these woods to explore and keep your privacy. You'll see quite a buffer between the houses. So there's still a lot of privacy even on a half acre lot. So this taxes for this house are about $5,000 a year, and the HOA fees are somewhere around $250 a quarter. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 a year for the HOA. There are no large amenities like pool, tennis courts, things like that. That HOA fee kind of goes to maintaining the neighborhood. There are some storm ponds that they have to maintain, a little bit of road maintenance, things like that. So yeah, that's the gist of the HOA for this neighborhood. But you can see, I'll take a spin around. It's just a really nice neighborhood. So if you're looking for something that is a little bit outside of town, not right up next to your neighbors, a little bit of space. There's a ton of these neighborhoods around Wake Forest, right? And you can get a lot of amenities like pool and tennis and that kind of thing at some private clubs. So there is Hazen Tree. Hazen Tree is a golf club that has a pool, a great pool. It has a kiddie pool. It has a slide in a separate pool. It has multiple tennis courts. It has a great golf course, a very good clubhouse, a lot of activities. It has a fishing pond, and it is a community unto itself as well, with homes ranging probably in the low 1 millions to, probably close to 3 million. Yeah, so you can get those amenities fairly close by, even though if they're not in your neighborhood. So these are definitely areas you want to check out. We are in the Heritage community. It's another master plan community. And just as a side note, there are a lot of communities that are not these large master plan communities. These are just some of the biggest ones that I'm showing you, or some of the most prominent ones in Wake Forest. So if your cup of tea isn't a master plan community, have no fear. There are a lot of options for you. But Heritage is one of the largest. In fact, if you looked at a map, you might see Heritage name all over Wake Forest, especially kind of to the east and southeast of downtown Wake Forest. There are in fact 15 sub-communities within the Heritage brand name. And they are really, what makes them unique is they kind of, a lot of these master plan communities make these kind of small communities in a way. So you get that neighborhood vibe in a lot of these places. So some of the amenities in Heritage, you do have access to a golf club, to a swimming pool, both of which are additional fees on top of it's almost a $300 a year HOA fee, at least in this neighborhood. And then there are fishing ponds, walking trails. You can see behind me, we're on sidewalks, curb and gutter, so it's not well and septic here. Yeah, the price ranges here are typically in Heritage somewhere in the low 500s. You might catch something in the upper 400s, but low 500s all the way up to 900 or just over $1 million is primarily what you're going to find in Heritage. Most of the homes were built in kind of that 2007 to 2010, 12, 13 range. There are still some other lots that have been built more recently and maybe a few earlier than that, but that's by and large the majority of homes in the area. You can see the trees are well developed, so you get these kind of tree-lined streets providing some shade, which is really nice. And this house, I'm going to spin back around. Right behind me is listed at $810. It is 3,000 square feet. There's a 2-car garage. It's just a really cool house. It's been updated since 2007. So there's waterfall edges in the kitchen, screened in porch and back. The yard isn't real big, but again, you have access to all kinds of different, fishing ponds, parks, walking trails, things like that. So this is a really great option at about 3,000 square feet. And it has some really updated amenities. So you can find things in these neighborhoods that were built in the early 2000s to mid 2000s that have been updated and really feel like a brand new construction without having to go pay the new construction price, as well as being very close to downtown Wake Forest. Let's go check out another house in the neighborhood. We're about 1.5 miles from the last house, and I really wanted to show you this house. I'm really excited to show you because it gives you an idea of what you might be able to do to invest into a property and find some kind of equity. Some people say, hey, I want a fixer-upper and have a vision of what that might be. But in this case, I think a fixer-upper can still look like a really, really nice house. And this house behind me is on the market for in the mid 600s. It's 2,800 square feet. The last house we looked at was 3,000 square feet. And this is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. The last one was 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. The big difference that I see with the house behind me is that it doesn't have nearly as many updates as the last one. Still in great shape. It looks great inside. It has a lot of potential. The floor plan is pretty easy, still pretty modern, but this is definitely a place that somebody could move into and add some more modern updates, because this house was built in 2000, I think 7 or 8 as well. So you're still in Heritage. You have the sidewalks, you've got all the amenities with the HOA, the same proximity to downtown, just at a little bit lower price point. So, if the mid 600s versus an $800,000 house appeals to you in terms of being able to get some equity and just maybe modernize the kitchen, Or if that price point just gets you into the heritage neighborhood a little bit easier, you can still do that in a really, really nice house. So two great options to just kind of give you an idea about what heritage is all about. You should probably check it out if you're into a master plan community that has tree-lined streets, lots of neighborhood vibe, and amenities to go along with it, and the proximity to downtown Wake Forest. This neighborhood is Wexford Woods. It is a neighborhood that is completely all new construction. It is all custom builders and semi-custom homes. Price ranges in this neighborhood are going to be somewhere between 1.2 million on the low end to well over 2 million on the higher end. The lots in this neighborhood are all going to be around an acre. Most of the houses are going to have pool suitable lots, even though they're on well and septic. The way that they're designed allows them to have the well and septic plus a pool. You can see the houses and are generally a little bit closer to the street. That gives you some space in the back to move septic lines further back in the lots and allows a pool to be put in the back of most of these houses. Finishes in these houses are all going to be higher end finishes. So you're going to have sliding doors, large, sliding doors out to big covered porches, sculleries, high-end finishes, higher end appliances, those kinds of things in this neighborhood. The HOA fees here are about $1,200 a year. That's going to cover just some basic maintenance for the community and for, I think there's a trail system in this neighborhood, as well as a small pond or a small lake in the neighborhood. There's no other, pool or tennis courts. Those are things you need to go to a place like Hazen Tree or Wakefield Plantation for kind of those country clubs to join. But it's still only about 5 minutes from downtown Wake Forest. Very close to downtown Wake Forest. You can get out to there for Friday night on White and enjoy kind of the historic vibe of downtown Wake Forest. So really cool option if this is in your price range and it's something that you're looking for. There are a ton of these neighborhoods around the area. So even if Wexford Woods doesn't suit what you need, you're going to find multiple options in this price point in the area around Wake Forest and even in North Raleigh. So yeah, I really like this neighborhood. They have great builders here. This one right behind me is about 1.6 million. It's about 4,800 square feet. It's 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths. All the houses in this neighborhood are going to have very modern finishes. They're going to have large pantries, sculleries, perhaps, if you want to throw in, microwaves, dishwashers, things like that into the pantry. They're kind of become a scullery. Big, wide doors out to screened-in porches and decks and, game rooms, playrooms, things like that. 3-car garages. This neighborhood doesn't have a ton of amenities. It's about $1,200 a year in the HOA. It does have walking trails, but something that gets overlooked sometimes is when you think about greenways and parks and things like that, these houses pretty much have a park in the backyard. I mean, they're right into the middle of the woods. So there's a lot of opportunity to just explore the woods behind. And in this neighborhood, they have walking trails and there is a small lake or pond in the neighborhood. So that's where your HOA, fees go into maintaining the neighborhood. The restrictions in a neighborhood like this are going to be a little bit more than some others. They want to keep a really uniform feel into it. So, when you take a look around, you can see the architecture in these houses are all very different. Some very modern, some a little bit more, modern farmhouse, and some a little bit just more unique. But all very, very nice homes. I'm going to spin around on the other corner here. This house is about 1.7, I believe, and it is 5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, a little bit bigger, so it's more like 4,900 square feet. And they're just wrapping up the construction here, wrapping up all their landscaping. I'm sure it'll be complete here in the next week or two. When you're building a new house, if you're looking at new construction like this or anything, a little trick in understanding when a house might be done is typically once the cabinets go into a house, you're looking at around 45 to 60 days from that point forward to when the house is complete. And a lot of the builders in the area aren't going to give you a hard date until they get cabinets in. And the reason why is because once they have cabinets in the house, then all of the things that can cause delays are pretty much out of the way. So then they can give you that hard date. They'll probably tell you, a month or two out, hey, we're looking at, early April or end of April, or, kind of give you some rough estimates. But often when you're looking at new construction, if it's not completed, if it's a spec home like this one, you won't be able to really get that hard date until you get cabinets in. So these guys, they probably have a hard date of when they want to wrap this up. But this is a great neighborhood, very close to Wake Forest. If your life is centered around Wake Forest, that's great. We're not too far from NC 98, which will take you over to RTP, the Research Triangle Park. And yeah, you can see there's still some setback in some of these houses in between the neighbors, some trees. Some do, some don't. But yeah, if you're looking for more of that, upscale, higher end, newer home, there are a handful of neighborhoods just like this around Wake Forest that you should check out. And you all the way across here and in North Raleigh, there's similar neighborhoods, similar price points that provide a lot of options for someone looking in this price range. Here are your 2 facts about Wake Forest that you should know before moving to Wake Forest. The first one is Wake Forest University is not in Wake Forest, North Carolina. If you're like a lot of people, you make that mistake. If you're a college basketball fan or a football fan, you probably aren't making that mistake. But regardless, Wake Forest University left Wake Forest, North Carolina in 1956 and is located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Today, the campus of Wake Forest University, or what used to be, is now Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary. They do an outstanding job maintaining the buildings there, taking care of it, preserving the historic kind of nature of the grounds. It is a beautiful campus, and it is right in the heart of Wake Forest. Suffice it to say, there are not a lot of frat parties there, so it's a really nice part of the community. The second fact that you should know about Wake Forest is a little bit more about commuting. The only 2 ways, the 2 primary ways into and out of Wake Forest are north and south on US 1, which has quite a few stoplights. And US 1 will take you to 540, which can get you over towards the Research Triangle Park, or it can take you all the way down into downtown Raleigh. Great thoroughfare, just a lot of stoplights. There are some plans for improvements to make it a little bit easier to use US 1, but I wouldn't really bet the farm that those things are going to happen relatively soon. That traffic isn't as bad as LA or Atlanta or Dallas, so if you're used to long commute times or longer commute times, it's probably nothing for you. The other way in and out primary way in and out is through NC 98. It is a 2-lane kind of county road that's heavily trafficked between Wake Forest and all the way over to Durham. And that cuts across on the north side of Falls Lake. So that's really what keeps Wake Forest from being a heavily commutable town, is that there are 2 primary ways in on US 1 and NC 98. There are some back roads to come around through 401, which is a little bit further to the east if you live on the eastern side of Wake Forest, but for the most part, those are the 2 primary routes in. And you want to consider that if you're considering where you're going to work, where you're going to live, how you're going to live your life, what activities your kids into, or your family into, or your friends into, and where do you need to be and how often do you need to be there. If Wake Forest is going to be the center of your life, Wake Forest is an awesome community to be in. Something to just keep in mind. Thanks for joining me on this tour of Wake Forest, North Carolina. I'd love to hear what you think about Wake Forest, so drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as well as take down my contact information. You can call, text, set up a Zoom. I'd love to help you make a smooth transition to Raleigh or Wake Forest, North Carolina. Look forward to talking to you next time.